Uh, hey, good afternoon, you guys. Welcome to the Silver Lining. It's Andy Reid here. I am your host, and today I've got a brother from another mother that I have been waiting to have on this show for a little while. Michael Choi is a guy in demand, founder of the Area Specialist. It is a real estate business with a distinct difference, but it's going extremely well. And out of all of this, it could be proved very, very, very right when it comes to setting up and structuring businesses, especially in the real estate space. Michael, how are you, my man?
Very, very well. I've actually been messaging you every day to go on this show, and you just haven't been replying. I've noticed on Facebook that you see the message.
No.
Like, it's got the notification where you see the message.
It's because I'm overseas, mate. You know, like time zones, mate. Time zones.
Thanks for having me on.
No, mate, that's absolute pleasure is all mine. How are you, my man? How are things?
Keeping well, working from home, loving it. Business is good. As I was saying just before we went live, business is probably the best it's been in a long time, which has got some disadvantages as well, because it means we might not get government assistance. But it's good. It's very, very good. I can't complain.
Good stuff, mate. Good stuff.
Sorry to jump in, but the interesting thing about what I found with everything going on, I found that people, like our team, were already close, but I found that even closer and even more loyal and even just stronger with the brand and just collaborative and teamwork orientated. It's been amazing.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation, man, that I'd really want to dig into, especially with you being at the spearhead of everything within the business. That's definitely something we're going to go into. But mate, before we crack on, there's a few people that don't know who you are. And off one of our first times we caught up for lunch, there's a lot of people that see you as a bit of an enigma, mate. Is it fair to say you're a bit of an introvert?
I'm a high introvert.
Yeah.
Or ambivert.
Yeah. Mate, give us a bit of an MO so that people understand a bit more about Michael Choi, the guy, before we crack on and really get stuck into some observations.
So basically, when it comes to the real estate world, I'm somewhat public, very public on social media, but outside of that, I am like a mouse. I don't do well in social environments. I avoid them at all costs. I try not to go to public gatherings. I'm just awkward with that kind of stuff. That's I suppose kind of answers or delves into what you just spoke about then. But outside of that, I don't know, normal guy. I like to exercise.
You love your diving?
Diving a lot. I love diving, free diving. That's without tanks, where you just go as deep as you can and see if you can get some lobsters or something.
Where do you go for that?
Yeah. Mornington Peninsula. I can't tell you my spots, bro.
No, that's true. Sorry. That's etiquette.
It's like fishing. It's like fishing, you know. But basically, you know, the water.
The wet bit.
All around like Portsea, Rye, Sorrento. Yeah.
Where it's obviously because that seems to be where a lot of so for those of you that don't know Mornington Peninsula, that's where Portsea, Sorrento, places that Michael just mentioned, that's where a lot of high society and polo is played and all that sort of stuff, and it seems to be where a lot of the posh fish live as well, because whatever you
exactly
keep
right, the posh fish live where the posh people live.
Mate, you seem to be pulling up some expensive gear from the depths. I tell you now, jeepers.
Yeah, they're not that expensive at the moment though, because China's not really buying them, so that's brought the lobster price. A lobster's the price of a
Oh, wicked. Mate, look, thanks ever so much for coming on the show. Silver Lining is to help people get through and gain from, big important point there, gain from everything that's gone on, all the changes that have happened in business and in life. And you, this, and I said this on the announcements at the start of the day. This is probably going to stay a little bit in business land because you are genuinely, quite impervious to the mental health space and whatnot, and that is no bad thing. That's absolutely credit to you. So we're going to stay in business land for quite a while of this. But for business owners, whether you're in real estate or not, this is definitely going to be something that you want to tune into.
Well, I actually think that most people are business owners.
Yeah, I mean, look, essentially, I mean, if you're in a job of some description, unless you're in a service industry that like the emergency services,
still a business. Everything's still a business.
Absolutely,
because
right,
it's your
mate.
brand. It's your brand, and like you can. There's this guy I begged at. There's a local shop near me called Parkmore Shopping Centre. Don't go there, not worth it. But anyways, there's this guy that I begged for a few years to come and try and work. I wanted to work with me because he was washing and cleaning the food court, and he was making it fun. Like he pretend this is like a cloth. He's cleaning. He's like, and he's just dancing with it. I'm like, this guy's cleaning the food court like he's on TikTok before TikTok was created. And that's the business. And I even offered him well above, normal wage. I didn't even know what position he was going to do in the business. I just wanted him. So, I think everyone's in business.
Mate, that pretty much gives everyone a bit of an MO into how Michael's mind works, mate. I'm not gonna try and pump your tires up too much. I'm not gonna overinflate the already overinflated ego or anything like that. But
I sent you so much money this morning, bro.
Mate, you very much have you've got a progressive mind, man. That is something that I've respected about you from a distance. And then as we've got to know each other, really got to know it is there's no luck involved with the stuff that you think about, you talk about, the stuff you observe. Being hyper introverted, it means that the trade-off for that is the fact that you're incredibly observant from a society point of view. You just seem to have a bit of a finger on the pulse that seems to be a little bit more prominent than a lot of people, mate. So credit to you for that.
Thank you.
Give me a bit of an MO in terms of the journey of Area Specialist to begin with. So, why you started it, how you started it. Give us a little brief history into the Area Specialist first. Then I want to dig into the cultural points that you made right at the top.
So, Area Specialist actually started out of fear. What actually happened is I got forced to create a new business because my business partner and I broke up, and I was worried that I was going to lose my guys, my people, our people. Mm-hmm. And so what I did is I had to create a brand that if I was within it, I wouldn't want to leave, because we were a company for 2 years, and then me and my business partner split up, and so I had to create a new company, and I didn't want to lose my current team. Mm-hmm. And so I just thought of, what do I have to do to make sure that these guys, and we were mates and everything, but still people need to look after themselves. So I thought I was in a vulnerable position, and vulnerability made me, when you're vulnerable, the other person's not going to be vulnerable. When the other person's vulnerable, you're not going to be vulnerable. And so I made the decision that the business had to be vulnerable. And because of that, the business was safe, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely, man. Absolutely. That's a really, really good point. I think one thing as leaders, I think one big thing that we fear as leaders is that degree of vulnerability, right? And then when you look at it from a communication transactional point of view with regards to your relationship with your consumer, one of the misconceptions, particularly in the real estate space, is that vulnerability is a problem. It's a negative. Ultimately, we're here to try and help vendors feel in control. So sometimes vulnerability is not a bad thing.
Vulnerability is the strongest thing, not the strongest, but I think it's one of the strongest things you can have as a person, being vulnerable, because it allows the other people that you're dealing with, to open up and feel comfortable. And when that happens, things move a lot quicker. And like, not taking a risk, to me is way riskier than taking a risk.
Absolutely. Oh man, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, that's one thing that this entire COVID cloud has just proven, is the fact that the ones that have been prepared to stick their neck out, in a relatively short space of time, are the ones that are really thriving right now. In a very short space of time, it's been a fascinating sort of observation experiment type thing where, because everybody's been put back on the same level playing field, the high rollers, I think Mark Novak put this on his Facebook page earlier on, like the no socks wearers are non-existent right now, and you've got a whole bunch of I thought that was an amazing point. But then you've got, because everyone's on a level, anybody that's got that sort of risk mentality where they're prepared to give it a crack are the ones that are really starting to shine through right now.
Yeah, and in this environment, I think it's shown that businesses as well need to be either really big or really small. And I think, people need to choose, what type of business they're going to be. And there's none are right, none are wrong. Both of them have advantages and disadvantages. But I think the middle ground is the dangerous ground. Whereas if you're big, you've got enough turnover that you can just make a tiny percentage of every little deal. Whereas if you're small, you've got extremely low overheads, but higher profit. And the middle ground, there's just nothing in it. There's no meat on the bone. Yeah,
no, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. And that's we'll go into that in a little bit more detail in a little bit. I want to talk about your initial point that you made with respect to that sense, that feeling of team is grown even more so than what you already had. You have been so. I think I've probably done you a bit of a disservice saying that you're sort of impervious to the mental health space and whatnot, is one thing, but you're very much aware of the health and well-being of your team and the motivation that your team has, both as a unit and as individuals. And you've always been doing lots and lots of different little things. I mean, they're not huge gestures, a lot of them, but little things to make you guys feel like that they are on the right track and they're doing well and they are part of a unit and they're not alone, and all those things that front out salespeople and shop front staff, they need that, right, especially from their leaders. Give us a bit of an idea as to the sort of things that you've done and why you've instilled that type of culture, and how long it's taken to get the team to the point now where a real state of emergency has come through, like macro level, and it's really, and you feel that it's really solidified your unit.
So I don't believe I drive the culture. So what happens is, how do I explain this? It's almost like the team is the train and the business jumps on the train and the team takes the business for a ride. Not the business is the train and the people come on the ride with the business.
Okay.
So I think that's maybe the recipe where you get the team to run the business, where they have majority of control of what happens and have full input. And I think that's a contributing factor to it. And you asked the question, how long does it take? It's taken to today and we're not there yet. Because positive culture is a journey, not a destination. It's something that you're continuously working on, and it's something that a problem comes up every day of the week, and you have to work on it. You have to improve it, and stuff happens in people's lives, and that changes the way they react and the way that they behave. And you need to be on top of that to let them know what's okay in the business and what's not okay in the business. But overall, I think people understand that if you have one stick, for example, if I gave you a stick, you could break that stick. Whereas if I gave you heaps of sticks and put them together, it'll be very hard to break. Yet they're all still sticks. So I think it's just about that.
Well, I think that's a really good explanation, and I think. So I was chatting to Dan Burgess, who's a leader in he is a leader in the mental health space, and I wanted to take him down a track of values, because in a business sense, I really do believe that values have really been bastardized in respect to how, what they are about and why they exist, and the explanations as to why values are important, I think, have been really taken for a ride in corporate life. Very, very interesting, though, that you say that realistically, it's the players on the pitch that really define the culture, and you just help to provide the environment that nurtures it.
Yeah, so we have values, and if you ask my team what are they, half of them will know, half of them won't know. But the values are supposed to, when you don't know the answer to something, you go to the values, and that should give you the answer for the direction, so you don't need to talk to the boss. But I didn't make the values, the team made the values. We had a goal setting day, and part of that was making our values, and they actually all voted on what they wanted the values to be. But some of those team members have gone now, and then some people have come on board with it, and they've just, actually, this is a cool little analogy or metaphor. So there's these monkeys, right? There's these monkeys in this room, and there's a ladder, and on top of the ladder, there's a fruit bowl with bananas. Hate to be stereotypical. And the what do you call them? The monkeys go up the ladder, and they take a banana, and then because they touch the banana, the sprinklers go on, and the monkey's like, no, I hate getting wet. No, don't touch it. And they learn that every time they go up this ladder and they touch the bananas, it rains on them. So they stop touching the bananas. And then what happens is they take a monkey out of the group and put a brand new monkey in that has not experienced this. The monkey climbs up the ladder, and then the monkeys in the group, before the monkey can even get to the bananas, grab the monkey, pull them down and say, nah, don't do it. This new monkey that's entered has no idea why they're not allowed to get the banana. But the team have told them that they are not allowed to get the banana. You keep on taking a monkey out of this experiment, original monkey out, and you keep on putting a new monkey in. All of a sudden, you have a whole group of new monkeys, and I'm not calling my team monkeys, but you have a whole group. You have a whole group. You have a whole group of new monkeys that aren't climbing a ladder, and they have no idea why they're not climbing the ladder to grab the monkey, to grab the fruit. And I think that's what culture is. Like, what happens is so powerful that when people come into it, they just automatically should change. They should. The culture of a business changes the way someone behaves.
I like it. I think it's something that, particularly with sales teams, it's really important that is present, because the last thing you want to do is have a monkey come in and smack the fruit bowl off the bloody top, squash the bananas, and then throw the ladder at someone, and just really completely destroy your company and your business and whatnot. There needs to be some degree of alignment. I mean, yes, you're going to have personalities and whatnot within that culture that help to make the culture. You don't have robots at the same time, but I think, and this is where, and going back to your other point about values being the filter that decisions are made through, ultimately, if they are really struggling to have to sort of make a right decision. That's exactly what Dan Burgess said about people, because a lot of people won't make values for themselves, or they won't know what their own values are, and yet when something goes bad or something goes wrong, and there's that sense of crap, something bad's just happened or whatever, it's generally because of it is every time. It's because of the fact that whatever the event is, it's being picked up by one of the filters that are your values. So when from a business sense, that's exactly why they are supposed to be in place. But realistically, most businesses are just have values because they were told to have them.
You went to business management.
We've got values. Look at them; they're on the wall. They're on the wall. Yeah. I've got no idea why we've got them on the wall, but they're there. And that's exactly what it should be in business. they are filters. Each value is a filter through which you make your decisions that reflect on the business.
Great.
Right?
That's good. That's good.
So I love I love the fact that you do hold an importance to it, yet you feel that you've not had much to do with it, which is interesting. So
they say the fish rots at the head first, and so you got to lead by example. And the tough thing about business is it's almost like people waiting for you to make a mistake. It's not just your tribe; it's everyone. The external, the macro, the internal, the external. It's like you almost have to be God, and you can't do anything wrong. And when you do something wrong, it crushes the business. But so yeah, look, the fish rots from the head first is the saying, but look, I think there's a mixture of the two. I'm only one person, so I can only do so much. So to think that I run the culture of the business would be egotistical and unrealistic. It's who runs the culture. If it's me that runs the culture, it's because I run the recruitment.
Yeah.
And because I run the recruitment, the great people come into the business and they play to stay. So like, and every business is in the business of recruitment. Like, it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're selling burgers, you're cleaning cars, whether you're in real estate, we're all in the business of recruitment. In fact, recruitment is probably the number one business most businesses are in, whether they know it or not. And the number one client of most businesses is their tribe, their employees. Because if you look after your tribe, then they're going to look after the customer or the client.
Absolutely, man. When it comes to your recruitment process, then, like, you know, for example, like you said, you spotted the cleaner at Parkmore Shopping Centre and was desperate to try and get him.
Didn't work.
Yeah. So how do you, when it comes to, because that's one big issue that's always at the forefront of most directors' minds, yet like you said, they don't identify that realistically recruitment is 9/10 of the law in many aspects. How do you go about recruitment? Do you just utilize that skill that you have of being observational and noticing people for who they are instead of what they are, and then look to see how you can apply the team to them or the business to them instead of the other way around?
Yeah, good one. I think it's a mixture of a lot of things. So if you can see someone that's really, I'm not in the business of recruiting people and just putting them into the business and making the business unprofitable. So to me, profit is the most important thing. And I think we should talk about profit in a moment anyway.
Sure.
But if you do find someone good, and I have done this and I do this, I almost make a position for them. And they don't, obviously a salesperson, you can pluck a salespeople and put a salesperson in, but even in administration or something like that. But how do I do it? The way, I think the number one way to recruit is the first thing you need to do before you start looking for people and headhunting or looking for prospects. The first thing you need to do is make sure that the home is good. So the people in the business need to be happy. The business needs to have amazing systems. The business needs to have a point of difference, and you need to make sure that you work on the home first, because it's almost like if everyone in the business is successful, then that is a magnet in itself. It's not the complete magnet. You still need to work that magnet, but it's the start. And there's no point trying to recruit if you haven't got home ready.
Absolutely spot. I love that. You need to have your home. You need to have your home in order before you start even remotely thinking about doing things. And the one thing that I really like about yourself is the fact that from and this is evident from a social media point of view as well, is that you're very open with respect to what you do and how you do and so on and so forth. You know, it's one of the more transparent brands in real estate that I've observed. You know, there are some that are still playing that whole fake it till you make it thing, and there's a whole load of faking going on right now, and because of what's gone on, the cracks are, you know, starting to show in a significant way. And then you've got those that to a degree, they either undervalue themselves and they don't realize what they have, or they just work off this archaic this archaic sort of model that they're hoping is going to, through prestige or whatever the case may, they're hoping that the name is good enough, essentially. And realistically now, I mean, there's some real high-end brands in, the Golden Belt of Melbourne that, it's becoming quite common knowledge that their culture is absolutely rotten, and their name that they've been riding off the back of for so long is really starting to look a little bit dirty and a little bit tarnished because of what people find as important nowadays in work life and in business life and what have you. And I love your transparency that you have with your team and your business and why you do what you do and what have you. I think it's just fab. Now,
on the transparency, Andy, sorry to jump in, but on transparency, it's interesting because someone said to me this week, they said, Michael, you give away a lot of your IP, and look, we don't give away everything. There's a lot of major stuff that we do in our organization that no one knows about that helps us, but we give away a lot of good stuff, say 95%. And someone said to me this week, why are you giving this away? You're letting people know your competitive advantage, blah, blah, blah. And I said, it doesn't bother me because I know that they're not going to implement it. So I said, the point of difference is not the point of difference. This blue pen is not my point of difference.
Yeah.
Okay. My point of difference is that I use the blue pen. And so, and that's something that no one can copy. No one can copy. You either have the work ethic or you don't have the work ethic. And so I can tell you everything that we do, every little bits and pieces. And in fact, a lot of the local businesses know what we do and they still don't copy because they just don't have the energy.
Mate, that is wicked. And I love the fact that you've said that. And that's what, for me, that's one of the big issues in small business generally, I reckon. And we're not just talking real estate here, we're talking across the board. People just seem to fear. I mean, look, it's getting better in terms of being transparent with your consumer. I think that, the internet, social media has forced that upon people now. But when it comes to your internal mechanics and what have you, what a lot of businesses don't understand is that because you are so transparent with all of that, how do you think that reflects not just on the business in terms of being an attraction business for good talent, point one, because that sense of transparency percolates through every element of your business.
Well, interesting. A landlord messaged me yesterday, and he's like, "Hey, how's business, Michael, etc., etc." He's a landlord of ours, and we've got about 4 properties of his, and I think about 4. And he's like, "Yeah, I know you're a hard worker. I watch your videos, and thank you." And he's a client of ours that I have on Facebook. So,
that's exactly it, right? Transparent. The way that you operate at the top, I don't personally like the term, fish head rots from the top. At the end of the day, a fish is going to rot all over. If it's going to rot, it's going to fucking rot. But
it's dead, it rots.
It's just going to rot.
So don't let it die.
And it stinks, and it's not very nice, and I wouldn't recommend being around it. But I think from, the way that you define yourself, your business, your recruitment, your culture, it does percolate through every single element of it, even to the point of the admin, right? So even the little nitty gritty bits that are necessary, that I'm sure that you won't have anything to do with admin in any way, shape, or form. But just like myself. But that's what people don't understand, and especially if we bring it back into real estate. Competitiveness is one thing, right? Of course, you want to do well. You want to do well for yourselves. You don't want to do well by seeing others. Well, a lot of people do want to do well by seeing others fail, but it's not really a way that's going to be sustainable for yourself. Because what happens if everybody else does fail and then you're just left by yourself? You're gonna have no motivation to actually do well for you.
I don't know if that will ever happen, but
you know what I mean. Like if we're to
take mind having 100% market share.
Yeah, but if you know what I mean, though, it's one of them things, right? If you're driven by other people's failures, then you're never gonna ever be able to reach the maximum potential because you've
got it's a negative driver, and they do say one of the best, first place is the most dangerous position to be in because you're comfortable. And second place is
So tell me, I want to dig into. I want to ask you a question around franchising. All right, because. And again, real estate is a space that we know quite well, and so this conversation's being had, or it has been going on for quite some time. But I think it's really starting to get quite intense now as a conversation, because profitability, as you mentioned, is absolutely it's a crucial thing anyway. Obviously, it's the most crucial thing anyway. But I think now that people have become a lot more cost conscious and what have you. Franchising is definitely coming under the microscope. So tell me, what's your initial thoughts around, franchising, the state of play around franchising, and why you decided to go the way that you go with Area Specialist?
So I believe in franchising, but I think franchising is changing. And I believe in franchising in a lot of industries, but I don't believe in franchising in real estate. Excuse me. So basically at the moment, there's the franchisor, franchisee, and then an agent. And what we're going to see happen in the next 5 years is there's the top, middle, bottom. The middleman's going to be taken out, and we're going to see an agent direct model where the agent works directly with whatever the franchisor is called. It probably won't be a franchisor. It'll be more of like a license style system. Yeah. But that's definitely where the real estate industry is heading. You look at a lot of companies, basically, and they're moving away from, bricks and mortar. You look at Blockbuster, which is bricks and mortar, then it went to Netflix, which is not bricks and mortar, and it went to a subscription flat fee base. Uber's the same, cabs, Uber, Marriott, hotels, or hotels in general, Airbnb. The list goes on. It's tech-based companies without bricks and mortar, without having to buy inventory, without having to pay staff. In fact, the staff pay you to use you to make money. That's where the real estate industry is heading, and that's where a lot of other real estate industries are heading. That's where a lot of other industries are heading.
If you were a franchisee, then what would you do?
Well, in a way, I am a franchisee because I have a conventional real estate office as well, but I believe in self-cannibalism. So if something's going to eat you, you might as well be that something.
Yeah.
So we need to look at the dangers. If we look at the SWOT analysis, and we need to look at the threats, and we need to look at the threats of your business, whether it be real estate or whatever else, and see, what has the potential to eat you, and go, okay, well, how can I be that monster? Because it's evolving, it's changing, and you need to figure out better ways to be able to provide service to your tribe and your clients, which is your team members.
So because effectively, like you said, Area Specialist is a bit more of a licensing type model.
We are licensed. So basically, we have a mobile agent model where we work direct for all over Australia and New Zealand, and we do all the admin, trust accounting, marketing, lead generation, everything that is sometimes in a lot of cases, all the subscriptions, API data, realestate.com domain, all that stuff's all taken care of. And in a way, we could potentially be doing more than what an office does. And the agents that are in this model keep 100% of the commission. They just pay a flat fee.
Why? I don't know if you'd be able to remember this. This is obviously an opinion that you've had for a little while, but why did you know that franchising as it was? So how old's Area Specialist again?
3 years old.
Did you see this coming 3 or 4, 5 years ago?
Yes, I've actually been working on the model 3 years now, and it's just properly launched this year. And basically, because what happens is franchising in real estate is very old. What's it?
By the way, guys, please don't judge Michael by his haircut. He keeps turning his head, and that's what happens when you have someone whose mind works at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and then you contain him at home.
I just shaved it all off, and I'm just going to shave even more off in the next few days. I decided I'm not going to have any more hair. I don't need it.
No,
Yeah, I
mate.
am.
Really?
And I am. Yeah, I'm cutting it all off. I don't need it. It saves me a few minutes a day. So.
It saves me a few minutes a day. My God, mate, that's an extreme. That is an extreme.
Well, you can save some time. You save a few minutes a day. You multiply that by 50 years. It's a lot of minutes.
It is a lot of minutes, mate. But at the same time, you know, because your height, your hair brought a little bit extra. You know,
I got high heels. Yeah, so
sorry, mate. Carry on. So
I can't remember what we're talking about franchising. Oh yeah, so franchising is 50, 100 years old in real estate, right? And what happens is they existed back when. Actually, I'm going to tell you a quick story. So there's this chicken recipe. Yum! That's a chicken. It's delicious. It's juicy. Okay, I'm going to ask this person who made this chicken. Why you make this chicken? How did you make this chicken so juicy? Oh, I cut a lot of the bum off. I cut a lot of the neck off. Okay, cool. And who told you to do that? My mum. Okay, well, can I talk to your mum? Ask the mum. Oh, why do you do that to the chicken? Like, why does that make it better? Well, I don't know. My mum taught me to do that. You go down the line to the great grandmother or whatever who's in heaven, and you say to this lady in heaven, why do you do that? And this lady says to you, and sorry to be, I don't mean to say sexist because it's ladies, but you say to this lady, why did you prepare the chicken like that? And the lady responds, oh, we had to. The ovens were only this big. And 200 years down the track, we're doing something much like the monkeys. We're doing something without even knowing why we're doing it. I believe so many people go to franchises because that's how everyone has done it, but it doesn't mean it's correct. And franchising existed before the internet. That's a wow moment. Franchising existed before the internet. Okay? Wow. The internet's changed everything. And the internet's old.
Yeah.
The internet's very old. And franchising existed before that. So franchising existed before templates were available, before free training was available, before people like yourself were doing things like this. Franchising existed before you could create anything, before graphics designers was probably a job. Like, franchising is so old. And so people just plug into that and they're paying all these fees for what the franchise provides them. But at the end of the day, the franchise isn't a tech company. The franchise isn't a graphics designer. The franchise isn't X, Y, and Z. If you want that stuff, you go directly to the tech. So I'm going to talk about CRMs. Some franchises have a CRM and they might have made it cost them $10, $20 million to make the CRM. Wow, a lot of money. But the CRM is still not as good as a company that all they do is CRM in. So, yeah. So there's a lot of companies that provide CRMs, and the franchisees pay a fee for these CRMs and then don't use those CRMs, then pay another fee to another service provider to use their CRM because it's better. And so that's the problem. There's all these subscriptions and costs to run a business. It's just too hard. That I believe that, you know, the conventional real estate business, the taxman, realestate.com, and the franchisors making more money than the actual business owner. And the business owner is the one taking all the risk.
That last thing, I think, is something that a lot of people can take heed of. Is you know, the franchisee is basically, they are basically the buffer. Now, one thing I will say, you know, to your points, is brand is obviously, you know, very, very important. People gravitate towards bigger brands and what have you, more recognized brands, and so therefore franchising. Franchise, or, you know, or licensing, as we'll call it, is incredibly important still when it comes to success of yourself as an individual, because ultimately, and I've seen this happen time and time again, people will start an independent firm, or they'll start their own firm, or they'll go to a real small firm and spend the first year kind of bitching and moaning that all of a sudden these leads that they had aren't happening anymore.
So the franchisor, so the problem is a lot of people, whether they're a salesperson and they go to doing their own business, or they're a franchisee and then leave the franchise company and do their own independent, they don't realize how much time the franchise was taken away from them. So basically what they're paying for is they're paying for time, because all these systems and things are created and now they have to create it themselves. But that's why I believe there's a space for licensing where licensors, like area specialists, or there's plenty of more other companies, provide that kind of platform so that people don't have to think and they can still do the dollar productive activities. So I think doing solo independent is still very risky because of time constraints. You basically, you need to look for like a company that is almost like, okay, so there's franchisor, franchisee, agent. And I think what's happening is we're taking the middleman out, and then there's the agent direct model. But what's actually happening is the agent that's at the bottom and there's the franchisor at the top is actually going to swap. The agent becomes the top, and this system here is a system. It's a service provider. It's not the mother. It's like a super hyper supercalifragilisticexpialidocious PA. They basically do all the crappy stuff. But I think businesses as well at the moment are really having problems with profit. So I'll talk about that thing that I mentioned before, how I want to talk about profit. A lot of real estate companies, they live that Instagram life that you were talking about with no socks. And what happens is they see profit. The formula for profit is revenue minus expenses equals profit. And a lot of businesses run on this. Revenue minus expenses equals profit, and it's completely wrong. It kind of makes sense if you put it on paper, and I say to you, no, that's wrong. And people go, no, that's right. That's what profit is. Profit is leftover after expenses. No, it's not. Profit is this: revenue minus profit equals expenses. Not revenue minus expenses equals profit. It's revenue minus profit equals expenses. So you got $1 million. You decide that your profit is going to be $300,000. It means you now have $700,000 in expenses, and you need a budget according to that $700,000. But a lot of other companies, they write $1 million, and then they want $300,000 profit at the end. And they keep spending. At the end of the year, there's no profit because they didn't take the profit out first.
Mate,
and so,
that is absolutely brilliant. And because basically what you've done with that flip around of the equation, and you've stopped making it past tense, and you've made it forecast. You've made it more of a forecast equation as opposed to a past tense equation. And what I love about that, you're absolutely spot on. People talking profit is in what's happened that has resulted in the profit that you have got in front of you, when in essence, and real estate firms are absolute pigs for this. And they will have a good quarter and go, right, awesome, we've got $250,000 in profit, amazing, that's fantastic. They'll go blow it all, and they'll go buy a car, and they'll go buy something stupid. And some of them will pump a lot of it back into the business, which is good. But there'll always be that human element of temptation that will get them to do something a little bit silly.
But even sometimes pumping it into the business is not going to give you more profit.
Exactly. All it does, and this is one thing, right? Because there's so many subscriptions that are unnecessary in business. Some people just get sold on the fact that someone will come up to them and say, "Look, sign up to this; it'll help you to be a little bit more lazy." That's essentially their only sales pitch is do this because it just means that we'll make sure that you don't have to do as much work. And people buy into that left, right, and center instead of actually understanding, right, if I implement this into my business, how is it going to impact my profit moving forward? People are so short-sighted because of the fact that they're too busy looking at the profit in the rearview mirror that they don't see the stop sign that's coming up in front of them. And I think switching the equation round to revenue minus profit equals expenses you could say it's a little bit more conservative, but then actually you could say, no, hold on, I want to target, I want to know what my ambitions are. Like, there's no point starting a business.
In our business, we have a GST account, we have payroll, PAYG account. So basically, what happens is we make money, and automatically money comes out before I even see it in the general. And so when tax man comes and knocks on the door, there's money in the account that I didn't even know about that is paid. And profit should be the same thing. Like, you should take it out just like the tax man, take it out at the start, and then you've got the rest to spend.
Man, I love that. I think that's amazing. I think I hope I'm going to put that on the screen. I really hope that people take heed of this, because it's just a way that you have to get around. There's no point running a business, guys. There's no point.
We're in business for profit.
There's no point.
Whilst you're typing that, Andy, I did write down a note on my piece of paper that I did want to talk about, and it's about right now everyone's having a tough time. People can have a somewhat tough time at the moment, and I just want to use the analogy of a story of a flower. So let's just pretend you're a flower and you're getting rained on and you're getting drenched, and you say, "This is not what I want," and that's what a lot of people are in right now. Then the rain stops and the flower says, "But maybe it's what I needed." Because a flower can't grow without the rain, yeah? And so this is maybe not what you want right now, but I can guarantee you it's what every industry is needing, or not every industry, that would be wrong to say, because it wouldn't be thinking about many people's families. But I know the real estate industry, what's going on right now, it's only helping the real estate industry right now. It's making people think smarter, quicker, better, be more adaptable, and it's exactly what we need to grow. So
that is probably the best. That is probably the best thing to end on. To be perfectly honest, it's probably the best analogy for all of this. I've said this right from the word go, that although not ideal, and there's people that have lost their lives and what have you, and there's stuff that out of our control, not great stuff. But business is something that realistically, irrespective of whether business just flatlines or whatever the case may be, there's always a reason for it. There's always as long as you keep holding on to the fact that the way that you use that equation, that revenue minus profit equals expenses, which means that you're safeguarding yourself against a downpour, against the storm, which means that you are forecasting your success and what you gain out of it yourself, and because you've got it the right way round, instead of just hoping that after all your expenses you're going to make some money. As long as you calculate it, everything will happen for a reason. And this silver lining show, that is exactly what it's all about. What it has done, particularly to the real estate space, is it's filtered out a hell of a lot of the bullshit. It's exposed people for how they roll, in a good way and a bad way. So the bad players are getting exposed massively now. The good players are starting to get more exposure now. It's kind of like wealth. It makes you more of who you are. If you're an arsehole, it will turn you into more of an arsehole. But if you're a good person, then it will shine through in spades. And I think that's what's happening now. There's leaders in businesses that have been very self-orientated and running the business purely to line their own pocket and what have you, and bully for them. That's great, but at the same time, it's not going to be something that's sustainable, particularly if a storm hits. Because then that silver line pocket, that line pocket of yours, needs to fund for that storm. It's not like you've created a machine that can sort of be self-sustaining because of the fact that you've been extracting from it so often. For your own.
Yeah, you got to leave fat. You got to leave fat on the bone. On the silver lining, the whole point of this, what do you call this, video series? But sure. I don't know what it's called. Chat. I think some people are pausing right now because they're depressed, And you know the movie Austin Powers?
Yeah.
So Fat Bastard in it says, I eat because I'm depressed, and I'm depressed because I eat. It's a vicious cycle. And I think a lot of real estate agents are in that as well. They're not working because they're depressed, and they're depressed because they're not working. It's a vicious cycle. You need to get out of that cycle, because it's only down. It's not going to go up. And things might not be working right now, but you just got to stay committed, stay true to the game, stay true to the basics. And eventually they will, the seeds that you sow today will grow into a tree, and you'll pick the fruit. But doing nothing is not going to help anyone. It's not going to help you. It's going to just make your mental well-being and your health and everything just drop even more. So I just encourage you. And the best form of motivation, the best thing to get motivated is just to start. So if you're sitting on your chair, sitting on your bed, sitting on the couch, and you're waiting for motivation, it doesn't come. The best way to get motivation is to start, even when you're not motivated. And when you start, so like when I clean my house, when I clean my house, the whole house gets cleaned. I don't clean one part, because I start and then I want to keep going. But I never want to start cleaning my house. So who's motivated to clean the house?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, the best time to get motivated is just the best way is just to start. So I just encourage everyone to do that.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah. Motion is almost, it's pretty much everything right now. As long as you've got forward motion, forward momentum in some way, shape, or form. Using that storm analogy, it's no good sitting there inside the house looking at the storm, looking at your empty field and going, crap, there's a storm that's just raining on my empty field. You've got to get out there and sow the seeds, because I'm telling you, this storm will provide an environment that will allow those seeds to grow in an incredibly fruitful way. The seeds that you grow, that you sow now, are going to pay you back way more than a normal environment would, because of the fact that people are looking for people to care for them. They're looking for people to show them a way. There is so much confusion in the world that they are looking to people in their specific fields more so than ever for so much more guidance and just comfort in the knowledge that someone's got a grip on life. And so if you can just put your coat on, weather storm, acknowledge that you're going to get a little bit wet and it's going to get a little bit crappy and you're going to feel uncomfortable, and you're going to need to change your clothes out the other end of it. But you sow them seeds, you get out there, you weather that storm, you put your hood over your head and you weather that storm. Those seeds will grow some incredible fruit for you. They really will.
That's it.
Mate, I've taken up way too much of your time. You've got to go crack on running a show.
Thank you for the privilege of being on the show with you after all my messages. I think I message you every single hour. I had a chat bot message every hour. Hey, actually, before we go, you were bagging my haircut, but apparently you got a bad haircut. Let's show everyone.
Look, right. I've got this because in the UK, I'm in the UK, right? For those of you that don't know, and there's no barbers open, no hairdressers, right? It's deemed non-essential over
We don't need a pre-frame, no pre-frame, just show us.
Of course, a pre-frame, right? And so I was like, oh man, I've got to get my haircut, and so I took and look on the front, it looks really, really good.
It's good.
I don't know if you can see this too well though. I don't know if you can see it well. Can you see it that well?
Not really.
Well, basically, that's a good thing because basically, and I'll post a picture of it afterwards. I've kind of got like this bold patch and then a big line, and it's kind of like I took half a bowl and just went around the back of my head. And
you're flashing. It's starting a trend.
Well, mate, I just come to terms with it because I figured, right, I don't have to see that bit. So
it's everyone else's problem, not yours.
Yeah, if I didn't see it, it didn't happen. You know what I mean? Mate,
thanks for having me, brother. Really appreciate it.
Mate, thank you so much for being on the show, man. There's a lot of great feedback come through already. You're a top lad, and and seriously, there's no need to wish you luck because I know that you're just going to rock and roll all the way through. So, mate, you take care.
Likewise. Thank you. Cheers.
Ta-da.
Bye.